What is going on, Swoopers? Welcome back to another episode of Swoop Luke. In this episode, we'll be reviewing the Kangaroos Collingwood game. So let's run that intro, jump straight into it. Just before we do jump straight into it, as always, follow me on all my socials: Twitch, Swoop Luke; Instagram, Swoop Luke; Twitter, Swoop Luke; TikTok, Swoop Luke. Be streaming a little bit more on Twitch coming up this week. It is going to be a huge week video-wise. Might have something special in the works for this Carlton game, the biggest in memory. But if you're new here, welcome to Swoop Luke. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. If you like what I'm putting out, you'll get notifications whenever I upload a video. And if you're a returning Swooper, welcome back. Thank you so much for rejoining us. So let's jump straight into this review. So this game, much like some of our most recent games, like the Adelaide and Sydney wins, it was a tale of two halves. That first half was very disjointed in a sense, you know, especially that first quarter. The Kangaroos went in leading, and it was very like, is this how it's going to be for the rest of the game? Did we learn nothing in those 9 days that we had off? It's just the same sort of stuff that we saw against Melbourne. The second quarter, we did a little bit better. We kicked 3 goals to their 1, but still, it looked like the game was just, you know, on a tightrope, and it could really go either way. Then step in our 3 musketeers, the 3 wise men, the 3 amigos, Pendlebury, Adams, and Sidebottom, grabbed the Kangaroos by the scruff of their necks, said, "This is our game," and they took it off in that third quarter. In that third quarter, we kicked 4 goals, but Taylor, Scott, and Steele, sounds really weird calling them by their first names for some reason, Pendles, Adams, and Sidebottom amassed 30 disposals. Adams got 10 disposals of his 30 in that third quarter. Pendlebury kicked a goal, and he just turned it on. Like, we talk about how he's fine wine or you know, how he's the Collingwood GOAT. And, you know, that run against Melbourne wasn't his best game, but he needed that run, that competitiveness, because he brought it in that second half last night against the Kangaroos. Him, Steele, and Taylor, they really propelled those 4 goals. You know, obviously they kicked 1. They propelled those 4 goals and really propelled us to the win. It was they called the third quarter the premiership quarter, and although we look far off a premiership at the moment with the way some of us are playing, it just epitomised the Collingwood spirit and when we're on, what we can bring to the table. And then in that last quarter, we actually kept the Kangaroos scoreless, so no goals, no points, and we kicked 2 goals, 2 of our own. So we won 3 of 4 quarters, so not a whole 4-quarter performance, but better than what we put up against Melbourne. And there's a lot to like about the side now. And I know people, you know, outside looking in are probably going to say, oh, he was just ratting on Collingwood last week, and when they lose, they're down, and when they're up, you know, they're up. But it's like, that's just the ebb and flow of football, isn't it? When we lose and we have a shit game, I'll call it out. If we lose and we played well, awesome. They showed the intent, they showed, you know, furor and stuff like that. But if we win and we win poorly, I'll call it out. But if we win and we win good, I'll call it out. So that's just how it is. That's just how the football media is, or football fans are. But there was a lot to like about that second half, and you know, it was the Collingwood of early in the season coming out in that second half, which we absolutely love here. So first came off the rank in my likes is Darcy Moore. Had another amazing game, and if he's not a lock for Australia, I don't know who else could be, because he's one of the best, if not the best, intercept mark in the competition, and he just showed that against the Kangaroos last night. The Kangaroos went inside on 43 occasions, and Darcy Moore, with a round high of 15 1%ers among, you know, intercept marks and stuff like that, stopped 25 of those inside 50s. He stopped 58% of the Kangaroos' attack just by himself, just one dude. Insane. It staggers, it blows my mind that someone can do that. 58% of the Kangaroos' attack was stopped by Darcy Moore, by one Darcy Moore. incredible. Loved his game. And, after the game, and I said it on Twitter as well, I feel like he speaks like a future captain. And I know we say, Taylor Adams will be future captain, but I think Darcy Moore, he has to be in the leadership group next year because he just shows a hell of a lot. Speaking of all Australians, now it's time to talk about Brayden Maynard. 667 metres gained coming out of the defence at 85% efficiency or thereabouts. So we did use him in that half-backer role where he just keeps running, keeps presenting up opportunities down the field with Jack Crisp as well, and Crispy, another All-Australian contender. But Maynard has come into his own this season. We saw a lot of him last year, being that defender that we want him to be. But this season, he is really just taking it a step further. And he's just a general in that back line now, telling the players where to stand or where to go or what to do and stuff like that. But 666 metres gained at 85%, 26 touches, just helping us move along. And I just love seeing that. And he has to be an All-Australian lock. I think we might have 4 or 5 All-Australians in the team come season end. I may have mentioned of it before, but I loved that second half, especially that third quarter where we showed what we can do when we play to the Collingwood brand, when we hit targets, when we're, running it out, when we're not playing that defensive football. And I think a lot of that comes down to having Cox in the forward line, who I absolutely loved. He only kicked the 1 goal, his first game back in weeks and weeks and weeks, so it will take a little bit of getting used to. But he did present well, gave up a couple of handballs, laid a couple of tackles, and I think that's going to go a long way into the finals and hopefully into a 16th premiership. Dislikes, so I'll get this first one off the rank. Dislike that first half. I know we scored 3 goals in that second quarter. That first quarter was just very, very, very sloppy, and thankfully the Kangaroos were just as sloppy because a better team would have put us to the sword, and we may not have won a game like that. With that slow start, only kicked 1 goal in the first quarter, and we're making a meal of kicking 1 goal or no goals in games, and we really have to tighten that up if we want to win finals and win a premiership. But that first half, I didn't really like. The second quarter started getting a little bit better, but yeah, that first quarter was absolutely shocking, and we have to take that out of our game, like I said, if we're to go further into October? Something like that. Arc. Can we get rid of the arc system? It is absolutely disgustingly poor. I can't remember an arc review that went our way in recent years. Maybe that Jared Blair one, but that went our way because it was touched by him, because it was kicked. But I don't know how this billion dollar industry has 7-Eleven type cameras. Like, I talk about it all the time. We have a stupid arc decision, but how you can see a touch of a ball from the blur is absolutely absurd to me. A massive overhaul is needed on the arc system. So a couple of special mentions. Levi Greenwood coming back from his ACL, calf, all these soft tissue injuries that he was getting. We absolutely missed those tackling and that grunt work that he brings. And players are just scared. They hear footsteps. They know Greenwood's coming to clean them up, and they're scared to go near the ball. And that's exactly what we need to bring to our game. And that's what we did bring. And you don't see Greenwood ever coming out of this team now. Another shout out, Will Hoskin-Elliott was absolutely everywhere. He did play a little bit further up the ground than that in the 50 where I like him, but that was probably his best game of the season. I've been really critical of the hyphen as of late. Hasn't been doing a lot, but yesterday he was getting to the right places at the right times, taking a bunch of marks, setting up goals, kicking a goal of his own as well. And we can see why he's in this team if he plays to the positions that we know him good at, and not, the half-back role that Buckley and the coaching staff want him to play. Another shout out, Chris May, 24 disposals at 96% disposal efficiency. He just goes under the radar. Had a quiet game last week, and I thought he would be dropped for this week, but the team and the coaches have faith in him, and you can see why. 96%. It sets us up. And then they're not just little handballs or little kicks over there. They're disposals that are going to set us up towards goal. And just his toughness. Took that hit, came back. You absolutely love to see that stuff. So on Instagram, I asked you guys to leave me a bunch of questions and I'll answer the best 3 or 4. I've got them now, so let's answer them. Does Cox stay in next week? Do you think he can improve, or is his time at Collingwood done? If I had answered this question last week, his time at Collingwood would be done. But I also know that our game plan revolves a lot around Mason Cox. You notice that when he's not playing, our game plan is to bomb it long and high and hope for the best. When Cox is playing, our game plan is to bomb it long and high and hope for the best. At Cox, with him there, brings it to ground. So our game plan literally revolves around him. He'll take the mark most times. If not, he brings it to ground. He's a big body. The only thing Cox needs to improve on is not getting out-muscled by these smaller defenders. Just has to push him out of the way. And I know, for lack of a better term, Cox gets bullied off the ball. There was an inside 50 where Pendles kicked it and Cox had 3 or 4 guys literally on him. So obviously he's not going to mark that ball. But he does get bullied around, gets pulled, because no one can out-punch him and stuff like that. So he gets pulled, he gets pushed, needs a little bit more love from the umpires. But I think, like 2018, and not just that prelim, just 2018 in general, Cox can go a long way in our team to help us reach that premiership. So I hope that answered that question. How big of a chance are we to make the finals? So where we're sitting, 7th at the moment, we are not too comfortable. We can be overtaken. We have 4 huge games coming up and a bye mixed in with that. We got Carlton, the Suns, Brisbane and Port Adelaide. Not in that order. I don't really remember the order. But what's going to happen is we're going to need to win at least 3 of those games to make finals. We could possibly push in for that top 4. The top 8 start versing each other. We're lucky enough that, you know, the Port Adelaide-Brisbane game aren't really going to matter a lot to us. You know, obviously if we win, it's great. But like to the top end, they're probably going to finish first or second, those 2 teams. But yeah, I think we do have a great opportunity to make finals. I think we'll end up finishing 5th or 6th. Lots of teams below us are only a few games or a few points behind us. Those extra 2 points that we got because of that draw doesn't really help us, but it gives us a little bit of a buffer. But I do think we will make finals, definitely. So I've got a couple about side bottom. I'll just read one off. Who other than Wills would you bring in for side bottom? So I think, logically speaking, and by logically I mean illogically, they'll bring in Wills for side bottom. And I know the question asked who other than Wills, but I think the coaches will bring in Wills. But if I had to choose, I wouldn't personally bring in Wills. He doesn't provide what side bottom provides. Not a lot of people do. He's very efficient side bottom with his disposals and the way he's in and under. I think this is a big call because he hasn't had a good season, but I think Callum Brown can play that role if he really, really, really wanted to, and if he wants to stake his claim in this team. Sidebottom's like 31 or 32, so he hasn't got a lot of football left in him. So we need that next guy up, and I think it is Callum Brown. He just has to get in and under a lot more. And the thing with Callum is that he stays too much on the outside of contests, in my opinion anyway. He just has to put his body on the line, in and under. He could be he's a decent user of the football, but you know what he has to do is he can't grab the ball and just put it onto his boot. He has to have a little bit more time to think about the ball use. Sorry, but I do think that it could be Callum Brown for Steele, or if they wanted to, they can leave Elliott and maybe move Crisp into that permanent midfield position, and move IQ into the Crisp spot, so we still have that run and carry off halfback if they don't want to bring in anyone too exciting into that midfield. So all in all, it was a really, really, really good second half. Not a great first half, but it was a good win and a win that we needed. 30-point win. We make it over that 60 points margin, which is always nice. We're averaging 62 points a game, but we made it over 65 points. It came at the right time to verse the Kangaroos. We just needed that confidence boost, that win. Lots of players needed confidence boosts, Cox, Flynn Appleby, who I forgot to mention earlier, but he had a really, not a really good game. I think he finished like 1-3 or 1-goal-2 or something like that. But I definitely like what Appleby can bring, that small defensive forward, which we have been lacking. Steve-O used to do it, doesn't do it anymore. So I think Apples needs to stay in that forward line, which I just really like how he goes about it. Like I said at the start of the video, huge game coming up against Carlton. We'll be previewing that a little bit later on in the week. Might have something special lined up as well. But next Sunday, this is the biggest Collingwood game that I can think of in recent memory. It's going to say a lot for the top 8. We are I think 6 or 8 points ahead of them. But still, you don't want to lose to a Carlton side that are resurgent almost. They've got all this hope. You want to knock them out before they try to make finals this year, because they're a good side now. They're an actually good side now. Young side, but good. But let me know what you think of the game down below. I really appreciate all your thoughts. Like, comment, subscribe, tell your family, tell your friends, tell your pets. And until next time, double shackers, I'll swoop you later.
Ooh la la.